Have you ever faced rejection for standing up for what you believe? Well, the believers in Smyrna knew this pain intimately. Living in a city devoted to emperor worship, they faced a daily choice. You either declare Caesar is Lord and live comfortably, or remain faithful to Christ and face persecution. In Revelations 2, Jesus says something remarkable to this suffering church. I know about your suffering and your poverty, but you are rich. Think about that paradox for a moment. While the world saw a poor, persecuted group of believers, Jesus saw spiritual millionaires. The Smyrna Christians had something money couldn't buy: unshakable faith. They chose Jesus over comfort, truth over safety. Their earthly poverty was evidence their spiritual wealth. Of their spiritual wealth. By refusing to compromise, they lost jobs, homes, and relationships. Some would face prison, others even death. Yet Jesus calls them rich. But notice what Jesus doesn't do. He doesn't promise to remove their suffering. Instead, he offers something better. Don't be afraid of what you're about to suffer, but if you remain faithful, even when facing death, I will give you the crown of life. What an extraordinary promise. The same Jesus who conquered death assures them that their suffering has both purpose and an end. So unlike the church in Ephesus, which had lost its first love while maintaining outward appearances, Smyrna receives only commendation from Jesus. Their trials hadn't weakened their faith, they strengthened it. Physical poverty had led to spiritual prosperity. Persecution had purified rather than polluted their devotion. Man, that'll preach. How did they maintain such faith under pressure? Perhaps it was because they understood something we often forget, that our present circumstances don't define our true worth. When Jesus introduces himself to them as the one who died and was raised to life, he's reminding them that he knows about suffering. He's been there. He's conquered it, and he's promising them victory on the other side. This week, as you gather in your small groups, consider where you might be choosing comfort over conviction. Are there areas where staying faithful to Jesus might cost you something? True wealth isn't measured by what we have, but by what we're willing to lose for Christ. The church in Smyrna teaches us that sometimes our greatest trials become our greatest testimonies. Their story challenges us to redefine what it means to be blessed. So maybe, just maybe, being blessed isn't about having an easy life, but about having an eternal perspective that sees beyond our current circumstances. The crown of life awaits those who remain faithful. Like the believers in Smyrna, we're called to value eternal rewards over earthly comfort. Our present suffering has purpose, and more importantly, it has an end. The question is, are we willing to be poor in the world's eyes to be rich in God's? Are we ready to embrace the kind of faith that costs us something but gains us everything? In a world that measures success by what we accumulate, Smyrna reminds us that true wealth might be measured by what we're willing to give up for Jesus. Their legacy challenges us to live not for the treasures of earth, but for the crown of life that never fades.